thanks for joining us at the House and Garden SA Design Showcase for the Design Talks. I'm joined today by Donald Nzimala, interior designer extraordinaire, Mpovakia from The Urbanative, and Philip Hollander from Houtlander. Thanks for joining me, guys. So today we're really going to discuss all aspects of design, what it's about, how you guys started, and really where we're going. I think especially in these times, people really want to know how to get into design and where it's going and get your experiences. So I think the best place to start is just if you guys could give us a breakdown of your brand, the process that you guys, your manufacturing process, and just an understanding, an overview of who you guys are. We'll start with you, Paul.
Sure. Okay. My name is Mpovakia. I am the creative director and founder of The Urbanative. We make furniture, but more than that, we make furniture that tells stories, more specifically African stories. We make furniture out of steel and we use timber. We love working with raw materials, we use a lot of stone. And I think our brand is really just exploring, inspiring and amazing and unheard of African stories and normalizing those cultures so that they don't become the other and they become part of our everyday life, where a chair that you buy from us isn't just a chair, but it tells a story about the Zulu culture or the Ndebele culture, and that's what we really do. Yep.
Cool. Yeah, I'm Philip from Houtlander, and we basically approach design from the manufacturing side, really. We are manufacturers in essence. That's how we started, and kind of learned how to design from making stuff, and really understanding how stuff goes together. So our medium that we primarily use is timber, and we try and stick with one timber, and that's American white oak. And basically just exploring all the options and all the how far you can push the material, applying design to our processes to get the chair from just a normal chair to something that's special, and also just seeing how we can produce it mass, because that's also another design aspect. It's not only about product design, but it's about designing your manufacturing line, designing your jigs, designing your machines, your tools. That's really where we see ourselves excel.
Yeah, because there's a whole business aspect around it. Then you've got the narrative, that you want to bring in, that it's not, that it is this individual, that it is different, but there is the whole technical side to it as that you've got to deliver on.
No, definitely. I feel and maybe a lot of us designers who graduate from design school, we start off and we want to be designers, and the minute that you have manufacturing facilities, your role, I say that I'm the creative director, and yes, I guess I am, but I'm also the production manager, and so there's so many hats that you have to wear the minute that you have to manufacture yourself, and product knowledge and material knowledge. What Philip was saying about jigs and this, it's all part of that process that you have to learn. It's one of the hats that you have to wear as well. So.
And then Donald, you'd know that as well. You can't just be creative. You can't run a business on being do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't just do that. I think the sweetest spot is when you can be creative and make money from it. So not every project will give you that creativity and still make you money. So it's always a juggling act. I believe that every space has a story to tell and every person has a story to tell. So my question is, how did the Urbanative begin, and who is Mpo, and how did you believe that South Africa needed you? And I guess the same question would be for you, Philip.
No pressure.
Yeah. Okay. I think so. What the Urbanative is now is not what I thought the Urbanative would be, and I think it's this constant evolving thing where I'm just feeling it out, because at the end of the day, I don't just design furniture for myself. I mean, it's pretty, but it's for the user, the end user. So yeah, no, I I started off as an engineer, a process engineer, but I did engineering because it was the only way for me to go to varsity because I had a bursary. And my backup plan was, no, I'll just come back around, save some money, go back to design school, which I did a few years back, and I studied interior design. And I was working as an interior designer, but I'm interested in how things work, how things are connected. And I do that more now because of the Urban Native. When I walk into a hotel room or a restaurant, I look underneath the table, and it's so annoying to the people I'm with because I'm like, how is this thing joined? And and my husband does that as well. So if we go to like a party or something, the first thing we do is we look at the furniture, how it's joined, what's holding it up. And I think that's very much a part of the Urban Native story, like trying to make furniture that does more than one thing, furniture that tells a story, but it's made well, and it's made with considered materials, and you understand the limits of those materials. So constantly exploring all of those aspects is really what the Urban Native is about. And I think maybe what I'm about, like scientifically speaking, really exploring how things work, and I'm obsessed about that, and I think I bring that into the work that we do.
Beautiful. And Philip, just before the interview began, we were just discussing how, you can start off in one career and then segue into another. And you've got an interesting, also a quite similar story to Unko. But I also want to find out, how do you master the courage to just leave somewhat of a lucrative industry to jump into the unknown? How do you do that?
I guess it's about passion and actually being happy. So you've really got to understand, kind of put it to yourself that, am I going to do something that I'm going to walk into a business kind of job where I might make money, but is it going to make me happy? Or do I actually want to manage my own time? Do I want to make beautiful furniture? Do I want to spend time in a workshop? Because we see all these things on TV or on Instagram. We see how things are made, and it's like, if that excites you, that's what excited me. I remember being in school, and there was these DSTV documentaries, and you see how stuff made, and you're like, that is like the coolest stuff to watch. It's not going in a bank and sitting there and counting numbers, and that did not excite me. So it's really just understanding your own passions and drives, and really just following up on that. And like Paul said, it's not necessarily always the way you'd imagine things going or imagine the business evolving, but through doing certain things and getting exposed to different markets and influences, that you change and you adapt, and the business kind of grows with it. Yeah. And luckily we've come to a point where the business is sustainable, the business is growing. We found a really good niche in the market, and from there we can actually stand back, because the business is actually kind of managing itself, if I can put it like that way. It's sustaining itself. Now we can start thinking, okay, what's the bigger plan? Where do we go from here? Where do we want to be? What's the ambition? And now, not only follow up on hinges or thinking, let's try this, let's try that. You can actually start being a bit more strategic in your planning and what you want to achieve.
So do you think, sorry Tom, but do you think then, and this is what, just from your question, what I was wondering now, and I think it is safe to say that what both of you have done in the design industry is massive, the impact for both of your designs, there wasn't anything like that before, and I think it's kind of set an agenda in a very big way for a lot of new designers coming on, that they almost I think you guys have given a lot of designers the courage to know that you can go and do follow stick true to your narrative, or stick true to what you want to do, rather than kind of this mass thing that if you're trying to appeal to everybody, or you're not trying to it becomes kind of watered down when you try and be everything to everyone. And then what I was originally wanted to know was almost how did you guys know that this is what I want to do, this is the direction I want to take my brand? And I suppose from that, do you even feel like you've arrived at that point yet? Because Philip, you were just saying now that you take a step back and you're actually now we can focus on bigger picture, we can do that. So like I assume that it's constantly in flux in a way, or like it's constantly evolving. But what I guess I'm asking is like for you guys was like the aha moment when you were like, that's it, like that's my brand, that's the direction we're going. Whether it's in materials or aesthetic or just the whole package, like you were like, that's it, that's who we are.
I think it's very it's not easy having a distinct voice and say, this is what I'm gonna do, this is what I'm about, because the type of work that we do is not it's not for everyone, or it's not understood by everyone. But yes, it's not understood by everyone because at the end of the day, we all make functional furniture, but it doesn't fit into everyone's aesthetic, and it's hard. It's very scary to be like, okay, I make furniture that's got weaving, and as much as I try and do something else authentically, my furniture will always tell certain stories. And you can try and say, oh no, I just want to be like everyone and make like a simple table so that I can appeal to the masses. But also, is that really where you shine? So, and I don't think for me it's like a point that I have arrived at. I think I am constantly learning that about myself personally as a designer and what the Urban Natives purpose is, because one of the things that we say is it's not just furniture, because I do believe that it's like a whole way of thinking. Yes, we make furniture, but at the end of the day, I feel like the legacy for the Urban Native will be something so much more. Like, oh yeah, I remember that furniture company, but now, they're into this and they do this. And it just becomes an evolution of like the bigger picture, which is what Philip was talking about.
Yeah, I think for us it's been quite strategic. So we've done a lot of stuff before. We've ventured into different arenas, and at some point we arrived at, okay, well, we've got a beautiful product. We do this really well. We're not brand specialists. We're designers, and we don't shy away from the fact that we actually went and saw specialists and said, listen, this is our brand, this is our package. How do we polish this? How do we put this to the public? How do we put this to the market? So we've had a few consultants that looked at the brand and said, okay, well, this is what you've got. Maybe leave that for now. Focus on this. Also speaking to other designers, we met Gregor Jenkin at a trade show, 100% Design, a few years back, and he said, forget about other stuff. Make a chair and make the best and most beautiful chair that you can. And for about 2 years, we basically just focused, and this was in 2017, we focused on refining this chair, the spindleback diner, which is kind of the staple of our whole range. And we still make this chair, and we always say, we're going to be making this chair. Houtland is going to be making this chair for the next 100 years. Whether we're around or not, the important thing is that the business is around and that we are still going to be making this chair. So we've looked at it in a sense of long-term growth and the direction that the brand's going to go into. So we've seen marketing specialists, and this is the way you portray your brand, because it's very, some people nail it. They create the brand, they can do everything, they can design product, they can be in the workshop, but they can also portray the correct image of the brand. And we just said this is not our strong point. So we saw some consultants, and they're like, it's local people in the industry and other designers. That's kind of helped us shape the image and the narrative that we tell as a brand.
That's beautiful. I'd want to ask, how do you believe that your previous careers have helped shape these wonderful jobs that you now have and have helped you create these beautiful brands? I know that we all come from somewhere. So how do you believe what you've learned previously or in another skill, how have you adapted those skills to this? Because it seems like it's working.
I am really grateful that I studied engineering. my mom is not happy that I quit engineering, but I'm really happy because it makes me look at things in a really technical way. It allows me to see beyond the aesthetic, and I think that's what we do with when we design. Try and pay back the piece as much as we can without like that fine balance between aesthetics and functionality, and telling the story. So I feel like whatever I studied as a way of looking at things while I was a process engineer has helped me that the problem solving. I was saying to Philip now, like, there are things, so many decisions that I have to make that I didn't even think I was capable of making on the fly every single day in what I do. Where you would get like problems in the factory and everybody looks at you and you're like, I'm thinking. And you use all of that and it starts connecting the dots and you're like, this is what we're going to do. So I find that problem solving, or the way of looking at problems creatively from an engineering background, helps me every single day in what I do. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess carpentry has only ever been my only career. I was lucky enough to study business management at varsity, so that's definitely given me a bit of skill and a bit of confidence to run the business out of an administrative side. But basically, always since I've finished varsity, I've started making furniture in my dad's garage, and then progressed from there to different alleys and changes in life. Ended up here. But yeah, pretty much I've always enjoyed carpentry, and I guess only after studying and just clicked like this should be my career.
What I'm hearing here is a lot of education in an industry where people think you can just come up and start making stuff. I think it's really important that we do emphasize the education, and I think for me it's given me a sense of confidence to walk into any space to say I have studied this, I have a degree, and also given me some credibility because people believe you. And obviously I think you take your brand so much more seriously, and people believe you and they take you so much more seriously because you have studied this. But in creating these brands, a lot of it involves intuition. How do you know when you've hit that moment where you know this product, that is it, this is the product I'm running with?
Yeah, sure. I think so. I know when I am working on a range, like I knew when we were working on the African Crowns collection, the stories that we tell, they are intrinsically part of my personal stories, so and then you can feel it. There's like this hum and you in it, and there's this energy, and when you're listening, like things automatically like click into place. I'm talking about how I designed the aroma chair, and it just clicked into place, like, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to use that, and also the help that I required in order to make the chair made itself available to me. You find the people who will help you manifest that piece, and so I believe in this hum and in this energy that we are all really a part of, and we can all tap into it. But each and every collection that I've made, it's always been about trying to really listen and like exactly, because I can make a chair, like, but what are you trying to say with this collection or with this piece of furniture? And it is that intuition. It's like completely intuitive, where you have to like feel it out. And if it feels authentic, like here in the gut for me, then I send it out into the world, and there's like no regrets. Even if you don't sell one, no regrets.
Yeah, I guess at Houtlander, me and Steven kind of head up the design part of the business, but we do also have industrial designers that work at Houtlanders. They've actually, so we don't actually, neither me or Steve have got formal design training, but we've kind of learned how to design, and maybe that, in a sense, that's to our advantage.
That's better, yeah, like-
Obviously, it's we're in a good position where we can employ guys on the creative team to bring their knowledge that they've kind of learned through the studies, and through that, our creative process is very much someone will put something out there, and I think something that's really advantageous to both our businesses is that we own the manufacturing side as well as the conceptual and ideation side of it.
Yes.
So we prototype very quickly and we fail very quickly. And then, and then we can move and then we can adapt and we can iterate from that initial concept. And having all those members in the team, applying a bit of their knowledge, applying a bit of their background, and the different cultures we've got it in our business, to arrive at a point where we're all happy with the chair or with any product for that matter. We arrive at that point much quicker than we would have, let's say, we were sitting in Sweden and behind a computer, being a product designer. Okay, now I send it off to an engineer and I send it off to a craftsman or that's going to actually make it, and then I get feedback a couple of weeks later. This was wrong. You can't actually do this with that material, or for this we need to build a tool first. So something that would have maybe taken 6 months or a year to develop, could take us 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I think that's a massive advantage, and I see that a lot in the different manufacturing or design businesses that we've got here. Is that most of the guys here actually own the manufacturing, they own the design, and I think as a South African collective or as a category, that's super powerful, because you don't actually get that everywhere in the world. It's kind of assumed that that's the way it works, but it doesn't. In Europe, those trades are actually
Like
far
outsourced.
removed. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. I think what I also want to know, and it's like touching on the whole like essay design as a collective, and you both have done this like super well, is the whole idea of collaboration and working between designers and working together. Because I think that's really cool. Like you're seeing, these two brands working together to create like insane pieces. How do you navigate that though? Because you're talking about like this intuition and this hum that you tap into, and now you're sharing that space. Like you're going to create something with someone else, so you both have to kind of find like a sweet spot where, like on the Venn diagram, where you both overlap. Like how does that whole process of design work? Because then it's a little bit out of your hands.
Yeah, I think the first thing that you need to do in a collaboration is you need to remove the ego out, because it's not like me showing you how amazing I am. You and I are working together for a specific reason. I am learning something from you, and you are learning something from me. The minute that you do that, then it allows an atmosphere of like authentic sharing, and that's what we did with this collaboration. And I still say that the Homecoming collection is what it is and has been received the way it's been received because of the collaborators that we've worked with, because it's a collaboration. This collection was ready last year, December, and it didn't launch for some reason, and we didn't just do it. And come January, we decided to open it up to everybody, because we also felt like we are part of this industry which has been really hard hit.
Yeah.
What part can we do for the industry in order to make sure that we're going to launch a collection and we launch it with a lot of other people? But I feel like it has to come from a place of, I love what you do, I'm inspired by what you do, I want to create something amazing with you, and I want to learn from you.
A mutual respect.
A mutual respect of each other's work. And when you do that, I feel like me as Mpo, I can step back and I can look at Jan do something, or I can look at Mbali do something. I can say, so this is the idea that I have. You tell me how this is going to work. And I find like that's such an amazing part of collaboration, because it creates such layered, magical work, because you don't know what you're going to get. And it's absolutely amazing. And it's amazing that we're in an industry that does that, we can collaborate with each other all the time. And it's not like it's a formula or chemical formula and this and this and this gives you that, So yeah, very lucky to be able to do it. And I think for us as a business model, going forward, it's something that I want to do more of. I see the Urban Native becoming a vehicle for more collaborations, and I'm excited about that.
I think you'll see like real growth in that, like keeping it not siloed. You know, I think
Yes.
often in businesses, like people will get quite siloed and like you do your thing, I do my thing, and I think you see like just so much creativity and growth that like goes in a direction that you wouldn't expect it to at all.
Like, I would never even know how to make with Philip. Like, what? No. So why would I even try that if I know Philip?
Yeah.
Like, Philip, I want to make a chair that's the Urban Native aesthetically and the language, and I want to make it with you guys. How can we collaborate? That's it. That's it. And you remove the ego out, and that's it.
And I know that, Philip, when you collaborate, you've also collaborated with some crafters in the villages. I just want to know, how do you find these collaborators that you work with?
It's a great question.
So I guess luck and chance sometimes. Just conversations like this, and ideas, trade shows where you meet other designers or go to their factories or workshops. I know we were looking for something. We were invited to do a show in Paris, do a certain bench and collaborate with Mash Tea. And we had an idea of the bench, but it wasn't quite right. And then my business partner, Steven, actually came across these weavers in Zululand, and he just drove up there and went there. It's like 7-hour drive into the rural KZN and found these weavers, and then from there just progressed this very beautiful collaborative effort that's just progressing, and we're still dealing with them on different projects. So, I guess it's not about seeing us in different silos, but seeing us as South African designer makers as a category. And I know that when someone buys something from Humpo and they've got a good experience, it means they're going to trust South African makers more. So next time they're going to buy something from me because they're going to have the confidence in us as a collective and as a category that we can actually make good stuff. Because it's nothing worse than a customer having a bad experience, or a customer coming to me. It's like, I'm a bit reluctant to employ you as a brand because we've had bad experiences, or the stigma that local people can't make stuff as good as people in the States or from the East even. It's about knowing that when my fellow peers and designers actually make stuff and give good service, that's a good thing for me as well.
That's like actual sustainability. I know we talk about sustainability in quite like a blanket term, and I think everyone thinks of it maybe only in terms of like your carbon footprint. But I think there's a lot to be said with whether it's like how you guys work, the craftsmen that you work with, or the sort of inter-designer support that is provided, exactly like you were just saying, Philip. Like if you have a great experience with you, then it's like, actually I want to shop more from South African designers, and it's crazy to think that I think a majority of South Africans don't realize what an incredible industry like South African design is. And like you said, I think often they'll be like, oh, you can get it from the US, or you can get it from anywhere but here. And it's almost like, why would you do that? What we do is better. I'm sorry. We've seen the stuff. We've seen the stuff. It's better.
I think what I have is a comment. Maybe it's even a question. Is that you use the craftsmen for the bench that went to Paris, right? And then you got a big project and you went back to them. So what was that like, and what was their reaction like to know that something that they do on a day-to-day that often gets sold on the side of the road actually did so well and has become something that's financially beneficial to them too?
Yeah, I guess with the example of the basket weavers, they had a big problem where you've got really old ladies at home doing the basket weaving, and they would do that at home because they were actually the ones looking after the children and the animals and all that. So they couldn't go out into the formal economy or even look for a job because they actually had to be home. So what they would do is they would sit at home and weave baskets and all that. And by embarking on that little project, getting them to weave this bench, and then obviously coming back to them and said, listen, we want to do a chair with you guys, and We develop a chair and then we put it out in the market, and we got a big order for a hotel in the DRC. And going back to them and saying, listen, okay, now we've got a product here. All of a sudden, this way of keeping themselves busy and maybe earning a little bit of money becomes into a really good financial, reward for them. And all of a sudden, the craft or the skill that's actually hundreds, maybe thousands of years old, actually gets new value. The young people are actually incentivized to go and learn from the older people. Okay, how is this craft actually done? Because it takes years and years of practice to get it right. And if there's no reward, if there's no financial incentive to actually learn those crafts or keep those crafts alive, then it won't happen. So all of a sudden, it's been immensely rewarding for us seeing the return in the village.
Do they ever get to see the final, like the products installed in a hotel, installed in a restaurant? Because I think that's a really beautiful moment. Because when you create, you can create in a silo. When you then see the product installed and people's reaction to it. What has been people's reaction to it, the general public, and have they seen that reaction?
Well, I think it blows everyone away. Even us. It blows. When we don't get to see the product. We only get to see it once it arrives there. Arrives back at our door. We basically make a frame, send it there, and then we're like, okay, well, what are we going to get? What are we going to get back this time? So they get to see it, and I'm sure they're immensely proud of it. Firsthand. When we get it back and it gets installed, obviously we portray that information back to them, and one only believes it makes them really proud, because that's kind of the feedback we do get.
Guys, I think this has been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for coming out today and speaking to us. Donald, always a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
I think as a parting shot, is there anything that you guys would say to designers starting out now who want to break out into SA design? What would be your sort of your one golden rule? Is there one golden rule?
Don't be afraid to ask for help. The worst thing that could happen is no. So don't be afraid to ask for help. I think that's what, you feel like, oh my gosh, this person is too big for me. And when I started out, I sent emails to everyone. And
there is support.
You just need that 1 year. So don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, I guess the first thing popped into my head was pretty much the same thing. Don't be afraid to kick down doors. Just don't take no for an answer.
You don't have to do it alone.
Exactly. We are so open with our information. We welcome a lot of guys to our workshop. And we share, because we know building this thing is, it's bigger than Houtlander, it's bigger than Urbanated. It's all about the parts of the sun. So don't be afraid to knock on doors.
Amazing. Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Just a pleasure.
Thank you
very much.